Sam Logue here for Green Blood Boxing. Absolutely delighted today to be joined by Caoimhin Agyarko. Caoimhin, how's it going, pal?
Not too bad, Sam. All good, thanks. I'm just back in Belfast at the moment. I just come back there on Monday. Not took a couple of days off, but took a break from London to come back home and train for a couple of days, and then I'm back off to camp on Sunday.
Brilliant. So back off on Sunday. Okay, so only just a couple of days. Yeah, just probably just a bit of a break for the head or whatever. But come here. Yeah, you're over in Al Smith's gym, obviously with Pierce O'Leary and a Dubliner who's over there with you. How's that been going? Obviously, you're going back on Sunday, but how's it been going over there with Alan and kind of, yeah, I mean, talk to us about that experience training over there.
Yeah, I went back to camp at the start of March. I only had a week's training back with Alan, and then I was way out to Fuerteventura to help Billy Joe prepare for the Canelo fight. So I was out there for 10 days. And then back to London for a week, and then now I'm in Belfast. But yeah, training's been going really well. It's been the last 4 weeks. I started camp, so things are going very well for me. I'm flying at the moment, and I'm enjoying it, and enjoy getting fit again and learning new things. And I've got a fight date, so I'm focused and stuff like that. So I can't complain.
Brilliant, man. That was the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was if you have a fight date. Can you give us any kind of indication as to, obviously not a date exactly, but, roughly when you're going to be out? Do you know if it's going to be soon or?
Yeah, I'll be fighting for my first title, which will be the WBC International.
Nice one.
No date has been announced just yet. I know a date, but it'll be May time, June time. Hopefully, hopefully it gets confirmed in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, we've started camp and everything's going well.
That's excellent, man. That's great news. The WBC International, that's a genuine title, good ranking title, especially in the WBC, which tends to be the governing body of choice for a lot of boxers, of course. But that's excellent, man. Does that indicate a step up in level as well in terms of opponent, or?
Yeah, definitely. I think. Listen, I'm not going to be fighting journeyman. It'll be definitely someone with a winning record and someone coming to win. So yeah, it'll definitely be a step up on opponent from my last fight. And there's a lot on the line for me. Do you know what I mean? I'm only 8 fights in, and I'm taking these step ups at the right time. I didn't need the fight from my first title this early in my career, but yeah, listen, I wanna progress, and it was presented to me, and I took it. So it'll definitely be a step up in opponent.
Unreal, man. Brilliant. Yeah, and that's interesting that you say, like, it is quite early. You're only 8-0. So what, like, is it more so, is it just that the team around you is kind of like, we feel like you're ready for this kind of step up? We feel like you're ready to push into the rankings and to really, because once you're in the rankings, you're en route then, aren't you? It's kind of, you're taking yourself out. I feel like in boxing, there's a lot of kind of, there's kind of brackets or areas, once you start fighting for them ranking titles, you kind of remove yourself from the easygoing learning fights, and you're kind of into a different bracket now where you're starting to push on towards the heights of the sport. So is it just a matter of, you've obviously a very experienced amateur, a successful amateur, and at this stage in your pro career, everyone in your team just feels we're ready at this stage to...
Yeah, do you know what it is? It's not even like my team want to hold me back a bit, but I just want to fight. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be... I don't need to be fighting journeyman, although I do feel like I still need to be learning the trade. And listen, the pro game's a lot different than the amateurs.
Yeah.
And I'm coming into my 3rd year as a pro. But I've only had 8 fights, and if you look at my record, I've fought 4 or 5 opponents with winning records. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like I've had easy fights or complete journeymen who are coming to lay down. That's not the case. So definitely. I feel like I've got the right step up fights at the right time, and this is just another step up. I'll be definitely someone with a good record, winning record, and he'll be coming to win. But in terms of titles, I think I'm not someone that wants a padded record. I'm not somebody who needs to wait around. Even though I'm still young, I'm 24, 8-0, and I've plenty of time. I think I can still take learning fights and step ups for titles. You know what I mean? So
definitely,
I said that my goal was to get into the top 15 rankings by the end of 2021, and God willing, I win this title, and then we push on from there.
Well, that's the thing, you know, you win this title and you maybe defend it 1 or 2 times in 2021, and you will, like, you can't not be in the top 15, I don't think, with the WBC if you win those ranking titles. But yeah, I think I like that. I think that's a really kind of refreshing attitude as well. You don't always see it with boxers. They kind of often want to push really far very quickly. And it's funny that you actually are speaking like this, because your gym mate, another Irishman who you train with, Pierce O'Leary, is like exactly the same as that. Is very grounded, very kind of like, no, I want to step up, but you know, I'm in no rush. I know we have to take our time with it, and when I get there, I'm going to be ready to win the titles. You know what I mean? Which, as I say, is a really refreshing kind of outlook on it from the boxer's perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, you only get one career, and you've got to make the right decisions. And of course, sometimes you're going to have to gamble or take certain fights at certain times that are going to be a risk. But I feel like if coronavirus has taught us anything, it's a lot of fighters have been pushed in way too soon. And you know, I've said it from the start of my pro career, even before coronavirus. Is like everyone kept on asking me in interviews about titles. When do you want to fight for a title? And I kept on saying, I want to earn my shot at the title. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be just handed something. And although I feel like this opportunity has been handed to me, and it's not one that I can turn down, and I've said that I won't turn it down if it gets presented to me. But at the same time, there's a lot of pros that come into the game and after 2-3 fights started calling for titles. I've never once called for a title. I said if I get presented with a title, I'll take it. I can't not take it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not one of these fighters say I want this, that, and the other. So early on my career, I'm a fighter that wants to earn my shot. A lot of fighters need to realize that you do only get one career, and once you're thrown in the deep end, you're there for a long time, and you've got to fight at a certain level. So you got to be prepared to be there. Do you know what I mean? And coronavirus has taught us a lot that certain people have had to take certain fights early in their career, and unfortunately for them, it hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
So you got to be managed right, and you've got to be willing in yourself to maybe turn a fight down, saying maybe this isn't the right time for me, but in 6 months or 4 months or 5 months time, that could be the right time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely interesting that, and as I say, it definitely links back to that kind of having a really good kind of grounded mentality. But it is very interesting because we have seen that, haven't we, lately? Like in the coronavirus times, like people are getting slung in, and I think a big part of that as well is inactivity. You know, they're not active, and then they're getting slung into hard fights because, you know, you have the likes of Eddie Hearn and the bigger promoters coming out saying, you know, it has to be good now. Like, we're not, because of the climate that we're in, we can't just be putting people in easy fights. Like, so it has to be a tough fight, when it's actually the least favorable time to be put into a tough fight because everyone's had layoffs. And yeah,
that's true. Like, you understand from a promoter's point of view that it has to be sold to the fans watching. Do you know what I mean? No one wants to tune into TV to watch you beat a journeyman up with a lot of losses on the record, but at the same time, as a fighter, you need them learning fights yourself. But I feel like it's just one of them situations that some fighters also need fans that to kind of, like, there's a lot of fighters that probably would have performed a lot better with fans in the stadium. You know what I mean? So
definitely,
it's just hard times, but at the same time, it is what it is, and you've just to get on with it.
That's it, man. You just have to. And I think some people are a little bit snookered. It's a bit of a catch-22 for some fighters, because it's like, well, if I don't fight in that tougher fight than I'd like, then I won't fight, and I don't get paid, and then I have to have a longer layoff. And it's a tough situation to be in. But I suppose, unfortunately, the ones who take the risks, if they pay off, it's massive for them. And you have seen some fighters take risks in these kind of pandemic times, and it really has paid off for them, and they've got more chances because of kind of taking the risk. But yeah, no, it was really, really interesting. You touched on your previous fights there. Obviously, your last fight was with Robbie Chapman, who again is kind of one of those guys who, he's been slightly unfortunate. Like, he's a lot better than his record would suggest, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's slung in there with a lot of kind of top prospects like yourself, and obviously he was thrown in with Fergus Quinn as well, I think, who's obviously another Northern Irish man who is obviously quite, just watching box, he's very, very, very good. Only 2 or 3-0 now at the moment, but you know, that's a decent fight in itself. Obviously, Jez Smith before that was like 10-1, 10-1-1, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, these are good fights.
Jez was 11-1.
11-1, excuse me. Yeah.
And he's probably the my best opponent to date. And he definitely tested me. Had a lot of things going on in camp and a couple of injuries and stuff like that. But bar from that, he definitely did test me. But like you said, like Robbie Chapman's definitely an opponent that his record doesn't suggest that he's as good as what he is.
Definitely.
And he in times like this, he had to make a decision to become a journeyman because he was like 4-5-0 or something like that, and then had to go down that route to be getting paydays. But at the same time as well, we've offered a lot of fighters, unbeaten fighters, prospects, former British champions, Commonwealth champions, former world title challengers to fight against me, and so early in my career, and they've all turned it down. So it's hard to get me opponents, and we're having to take fights like Robbie Chapman, who, yes, he at the time I think he was 6 wins, 5 losses or something like that. But we're having to take fights like that because we're not able to get fighters with good records to fight me. No one wants to kind of put it on the line. But listen, that's boxing, and I understand that.
Tough being the prospect, I suppose, at times. It's the other side of the coin. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you are very much a top prospect, which is maybe something that people forget at times. You know, you're obviously one of the very few Irish boxers as well who signed to a top promoter. It's one of those, like, talk to me a little bit about that, because that's kind of, I find that an interesting thing. I want to touch on the kind of dynamic of your relationship with Frank Warren, and, you know, what's it like, maybe the ups and downs, if you can kind of go into both of being that kind of prospect with a promoter. Are there kind of pros and cons to it, or, you know, talk to me about that relationship?
Especially I think in times like this, it's definitely benefits me a lot to be signed by a top promoter. Like Frank's putting on shows every couple of months or twice a month, and it's good because it gives me the opportunity to get out. It's where if you're just signed by a manager, you're not going to get out. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Unless you're with MTK, who are putting their own shows on.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're with other managers, you're not going to get out because you have to have a TV deal. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's definitely, I think it definitely benefits me, and that's definitely the pros of it. I don't really see any. I don't think there's any cons to being with a promoter. I have a decent relationship with Frank. His son Francis manages me. We have a good relationship. And we've planned out a route that we want to go down. And right now everything's working out, and I'm happy being over in England training. Like I took myself over there to become a full-time athlete, and I'm loving being a professional boxer and progressing it with every fight, and I'm learning so much.
Excellent, man. So moving on from that, you have been sparring. You have sparred in the past Billy Joe Saunders when he was supposed to be fighting Canelo, which was last year. Obviously, he's fighting. Billy Joe's going to fight Canelo on May the 8th, I think. May the 8th. You've been in camp recently with Billy Joe, right?
Yeah, I went. I think it was this time last year. I went over to Manchester. I was in London at the time. Went down to Manchester to spar Billy Joe. And then he had asked me to be a part of his camp. And then obviously we were meant to fly out to Vegas. The fight fell through because of coronavirus. And then he stuck to his word and said if the fight happens, he'll definitely contact me again about it. And he did. So we were in Spain there for 10 days sparring and stuff like that. Excellent. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get out to Vegas to help him prepare for his fight, as it's too close to my fight. And in boxing, you have to be selfish at times and put yourself first. So even though it's an unbelievable experience, I can't really risk getting injured or anything like that.
Okay. So that's if I can just interject there, that's an interesting thing. And I think some people would not question, but wonder, so what decisions are made there? So obviously being in camp with Billy Joe, even if it was close to your fight, someone might argue that, well, you're sparring and in camp with a world champion who's fighting against debatably the number 1 pound for pound in the world. So is that not in itself really good preparation for you in a more of a general sense for your fight? So what kind of decisions are made there? Do you know what I mean? Like, is that ever considered?
Yeah, obviously the spawn, I'm not going to get better spawn than spawn a 2-weight world champion who's on the top of his game. I can tell you that he's definitely on the top of his game. But that's the pros of it. You know what I mean? That's an unbelievable spawn. I'm not going to get better spawn than that, but you got to take into consideration I'm fighting a couple of weeks after that. It is very close to my fight date. I'm away in a different country from my own coach, so I'm not the main priority out in Vegas. You know what I mean? Who's going to take me on my pads and do my runs and my strength conditioning? And so, I mean, it's okay being a sparring partner out there, but who's going to train me for my camp? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
And stuff like that. And as well as that, you got to think of the jet lag coming home, the hassle of like coronavirus that I have to quarantine for 10 days or whatnot. Just say I do get coronavirus, then that's me out of it. As well as when there's such a high level of opposition in sparring, like I wouldn't be just sparring Billy Joe out there. I'll be sparring Mexicans and whoever he's sparring. Because obviously I'm preparing for my fight. You are taking the risk of getting injured out there because it's not going to be controlled out there as where I can control sparring back in my own camp.
It's not as catered for you and stuff. Yeah, exactly. So
exactly, we employ other people to come in and spar suited to my opponent and stuff like that. So you've got to take a lot of things into consideration, and you have to be selfish at times like this. Listen, who wouldn't want to go out to Vegas for 3-4 weeks and help Billy Joe Saunders prepare for the biggest fight in his career? I certainly would, but things were kind of up in the air whether he was taking me out, whether he wasn't, and then we had just to make a decision. What's best for us, and we did that. So listen, it's unfortunate that if I didn't have a fight date, I would have definitely loved to have went out if he was going to bring me out, but it is what it is, and opportunities like that will come again.
Definitely, and it's just a bit unfortunate timing, isn't it? But you still had the chance to spar. You've still done 10 good days. I'm sure you did plenty around Billy Joe. You know what I mean? I have a slightly different question for you, if you don't mind. It's more about kind of Billy Joe's camp, and this is just because you have obviously an insight that people don't really have. Can you speak a little bit to the differences between? I'm fairly sure the first time you were with Billy Joe, Ben Davison was training him, and of course he's now with Mark Tibbs. How was the camp different, or how was not your experience necessarily, but how did you see a difference there in his camp from kind of coach to coach? Were there any kind of noticeable differences in how he's been coached, or how the camp was, or the approaches of the different coaches?
Do you know what? Not really, because whenever I went to spar Billy Joe, it was only one spar, so I wasn't really part of the first time. I wasn't really part of the camp. I didn't get to see much. Okay. He was out of shape. He'd only got word that he was going to be fighting, so he got someone in to see if he brought me down to see if I was the right sparring partner. So I didn't really get to see much. Listen, Ben Davison's a good coach, and I think he's technically very good. Mark Tibbs is a very good coach as well. Do you know what I mean? Look what he did with Dillian White and everyone else he's had. Do you know what I mean? So they're both very good coaches, and I think Billy Joe and Ben Davison still have a very good relationship. So I don't think. Listen, obviously you've got to have the right coach there, but I don't think there's going to be much difference. It's going to change Billy Joe's style. It's just all about tactics and working to them tactics. Billy Joe is Billy Joe. He's not going to change his style just to fight Canelo. He's just got to adapt to certain things and have a game plan put in place. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like he's in great shape. He's from sparring him. He's a handful. He's a 2-weight world champion, so you wouldn't expect anything less. Yeah. And I do genuinely believe he's going to cause an upset.
Yeah. Okay. That was going to be my next one. Like, you think he can win? What do you think he does, or how does he get to Canelo? Obviously, Canelo is phenomenal. You know, how does he do it?
Without doubt, Billy Joe is the only person I can see, other than the Golovkin. I thought Golovkin won the 2 fights, but right now, Billy Joe is the only person that can beat Canelo Alvarez. Not to say Canelo's not a good boxer technically, because that would be a lie. But a good boxer will always beat a good fighter 9 times out of 10. And for me, in terms of boxing skill, boxing ability, fight IQ, and just how smart they are as fighters, I think Billy Joe is the smarter fighter, the more technical fighter.
Okay.
So I think, I think Billy Joe's definitely the better fighter, but he's he's definitely the more technical fighter. But it's just about being able to put in place a game plan that's going to beat Canelo. Do you know what I mean? If you look at Canelo's toughest fights, Floyd Mayweather, the Lara fight, they're technical boxers. Do you know what I mean? Who can box in the back foot and counter punchers. Especially Lara, who's a southpaw like Billy Joe, and I personally thought he won the fight by 2-3 rounds.
Yeah, I remember thinking that as well. Thinking Lara won that fight. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Have I cut off there? No.
No, you're grand. You're back.
Yeah. So I feel like Billy Joe will definitely give Canelo his toughest fight, and I feel like the fight will go where Billy Joe will go 5-6 rounds up. Canelo's a slow starter, and then I hope he gets on his bike, and then Canelo falls into his traps. You know what I mean? But listen, you can't take nothing away from Canelo. He's definitely going to be the favorite for this fight. Yeah. He's an unbelievable fighter, and if he does beat Billy Joe, he's the pound for pound. Even though I think he is right now the pound for pound number one, he is definitely the pound for pound number one, and there isn't anyone that's going to beat him right now.
No, it is hard to see, isn't it? Just in terms of just he seems so versatile and so kind of he can normally find a way to get the job done against any different style. But yeah, Billy Joe, I do agree. Like I think Billy Joe poses different problems to what a lot of the other fighters or his other opponents have posed to him. Like Billy Joe he's a bit of a different puzzle, and he's a bit of a madman as well, which I think stands in his favor. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you know what the thing is as well? People don't realize how physically strong and how hard Billy Joe hits.
Really? Yeah.
And it's people wouldn't take that into consideration, but I'm telling you now, people have said to me, "What do you think?" Like Canelo's presence in the ring and how physically strong he is, that will play a big part in it. I says Billy Joe's just as physically strong. I'm telling you right now, he can punch, and it's not like he's not known for to be a knockout artist, but he's definitely got heavy hands, and he's got the skills to go with it, and he's physically strong, and I feel like he's an all-round boxer. Do you know what I mean? So I don't 100%. Think that will be a big factor where he'll get bullied about the ring or anything like that.
Yeah, like it's definitely an interesting one, because you do think that Billy Joe has to be on his bike. That's kind of what, when you imagine the fight, I think most people imagine it that way, don't they? They imagine Billy Joe kind of popping the jab, being very tricky, feinting a lot, really managing the distance well with his feet, and causing Canelo, like, you know, just giving him nightmares with the distance and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to see them kind of in close, and who has the advantages there in terms of strength and maneuverability on the inside and stuff. It's going to be, I'm very excited now, I have to say. I'd say you're buzzing, especially from being, it's funny as well, you're probably quite invested now because you've sparred Billy Joe, you've kind of, you know him to some extent. I'd say even emotionally, you're probably a little bit more attached to it. Like,
yeah, definitely. Listen, I want Billy Joe to win without doubt. I've been a part of his camp. I've helped him prepare in some way for this fight, and I'm a fan of Billy Joe before that. Even though I'm a fan of Canelo as well, I've been a fan of Billy Joe since I met him in 2012. I actually showed him a photo of us when I met him back in 2012 at the TKO gym in London. Well, I don't think it's there anymore, but that's where he actually used to train with Jimmy Tibbs, Mark Tibbs' dad. So
yeah.
It's definitely, I'm invested in it a bit, and I feel like people think I'm mad for saying that Billy Joe's going to win, but on fight night we'll see. I truly have belief in him, and listen, it's an elite fight. Do you know what I mean? At the top of the sport, it's for the Ring Magazine, WBC, WBA, and WBO. WBO. I mean, there's 4 belts on the line, so it's an elite fight, and at that level, there's no shame in any fighter losing. But I feel like Billy Joe's going to pull off a big upset.
You heard it here first, folks. Get your money on Billy Joe.
I will definitely have mine on Billy Joe.
Yeah, I don't even know what the odds are. I must have a look at the odds. I'd say you'll get decent odds on Billy Joe.
I seen he was 5-1 on points or something like that, or to win. So it's good, good enough odds. You know
that's
what I mean?
Not a bad little bet, that one. Yeah, that's cheeky little tenner or 15 quid on that.
Exactly.
Listen, I have a couple more for you, Caoimhin, and then I'll let you go. More general stuff, but yeah. You had a bit of a back and forth recently with a man by the name of IDRIS VIRGO, who I'm sure you're obviously familiar with. Talk to me about that. Like, where has that come from? He's kind of, I mean, for people who don't know, he's kind of he's kind of made a bit of a name for himself. I think is he some sort of he's been on some sort of reality TV show or something, and he was given, like, he was fighting a journeyman and he was throwing water at him and giving him all sorts of shit in some press conference. Bit of a play actor. Like, tell me about the kind of what's happened there between you and him. It's a bit of a
Mate, do you know what it is? I don't even know where it come from. After one of my fights, he put something on Twitter or something like that, calling me out and just talking absolute nonsense. And then it's just every time I put something up, he just comes. Like, I put a video up of me out in Fuerteventura in the pad, and he just wrote under it saying no power. Like, you've had 9 fights and stopped one person. You've not fought anybody with a winning record. Your last 3 opponents have a combined loss record of 229.
Yeah.
I've fought 5 opponents with winning records, and I've stopped 5 people. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Listen, I understand it's the fight game. You've got it. There's a bit of, he's one of them people that loves to speak and be disrespectful to other fighters, and that's not me as a person. Listen, if you want to fight, I'll fight. Like that, I'm a fighter. I've been doing this for 17 years.
Yeah,
that's what I do. Do you know what I mean? If you want to put your money where your mouth is, we can meet in the ring. And that's my manager rung his manager, and they turned down the fight. Do you know what I mean? So don't come on social media saying I'm not ready, I'm not this, blah blah blah. If you're not going to take the fight, simple as that. And then don't price yourself out of a fight. Do you know what I mean? Often for a ridiculous amount of money that you'll never get. So he's a donut, mate, and he's not even worth me talking about, because he's not going to do anything in the sport. Do you know what I mean? I've genuinely feel like he's in it for the clout. The professional boxer, do you know what I mean? And until he fights, do you know, he probably doesn't even deserve to fight me. I mean, who's he beat? Who's he fought? Even though I said I'd fight him, he's fought nobody's. And he's just one of them fighters. He'll call out a lot of fighters just for the hype of it. But he really won't step up. Do you know what I mean? So it is what it is. It's a part of boxing. But I'm one of them fighters that I'll never be disrespectful to another person unless they're disrespectful to me. And he's just one of them fighters, mate.
Yeah, he seems to be, man. The only thing about that kind of situation is that you can use that to your benefit, I suppose. You know what I mean? Like, if he's acting the bollocks and play acting and doing that kind of stuff, you can kind of feed off it to some degree, because it's a bit of, I suppose, for lack of a better term, it's a bit of clout. You know what I mean? Which doesn't do you any harm as well. You know what I mean? And you are a real fighter, so you kind of know where you stand on that stuff anyway. Like, if he's got into the ring, I mean, obviously I'm biased. You being an Irishman, the channel is obviously going to be biased. But I mean, I think we all know what way that fight goes. But
why would I waste my time on him? Do you know what I mean? Why? He doesn't deserve it. Like, why would I waste my time going back and forth with someone who doesn't want to fight? Do you know what I mean? And yes, it's any publicity is good publicity, but with me, there's no hype required. I don't need to hype myself up. I don't need to hype certain fights up. I do my talking in the ring, and as a lot of people have seen, I've got a fan friendly style. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
I'm not
confirm that.
But boxing's a very tough sport, and I understand. I've been in it a very long time. Even though I'm only 24, I don't need to go out and disrespect other fighters and be disrespectful. That's not me as a person. If I ever call somebody out, I'll do it respectfully. You can still call people out and be respectful. Sorry, but definitely. People like him don't want to fight; they just want to talk, and I'm not about that. I like to fight, and that's what I'm all about.
100%, man. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from that perspective as well. Kind of time waste, and you're a bit like, well, why would I give him attention if he's not even interested in fighting? But yeah, no, I get it, man.
We offered him the fight, and we offered to fight him on Channel 5 with McHennessy. That's who he's with, and they still turned it down. Do you know what I mean? We're giving him the home advantage, anything he wanted. Do you know what I mean? But listen, it is what it is. He didn't take the fight, and I will just move on to the next opponent. I'm not going to waste my time going back and forth with him anymore.
Definitely not, man. Definitely not. At least it's entertaining from the periphery. Like, for us standing back looking in, it's kind of entertaining. But definitely, man, you need to just get on with things. But come here. I'm interested in kind of as an Irishman, as an Irish fighter, like, and obviously, like, you're in a gym with one of the other big prospects coming out of Ireland. I'm just interested in your opinion on, like, Irish boxing at the moment, and specifically, like, are there any fighters coming up? Like, we have so many, like, Irish professional boxing is really after taking off, and I think over the next couple of years, it's gonna be booming. to the extent that we haven't seen for a long time. But are there any kind of fighters who are kind of, you know, in your head or on the tip of your tongue that you think, oh, people should watch out for him, or you like the look of these other guys coming up?
Yeah, a guy called Caoimhin Agyarko, Black Thunder. No, I'm only joking.
100%,
Listen,
man.
Irish
That's a given.
boxing, Irish boxing is booming at the moment, and it has been for the last couple of years, especially in the amateur scene and the pro scene. And I feel like there's a lot of Irish fighters putting their names out there and doing very well. Piers O'Leary, I got him over training with us. He asked about coming over and training with Val, and he's come over. He's improved leaps and bounds.
Yeah,
you can see that in his fights. I was very impressed with Gary Cully in his last fight. I was on the Irish team with Gary Cully, and I've always been a fan of him. But I have been very, like, if you look at Gary in the amateurs, you would have never thought he had a pro style or been a banger or anything like that, or you would have questioned how well would he do in the pro game. But I've been very impressed with Gary Cully, and fair play to him. He's somebody that works very, very hard, and it's paying off. Do you know what I mean? He's getting the opportunities, and he's taking them. Who else? Paddy Donovan, great talent.
Yeah,
very, very good talent. Very surprised that he stopped that sheer Osgo, because he's a tough guy. But and Paddy's so young, didn't need to take a tough fight like that so quickly. So I've been very impressed with him. And then you've got the likes of McConnell, Tron McKenna, Sean McComb. You've got James Tennyson, who can whack seriously hard and has been at that world level. And stuff like that. So Irish boxing's booming at the moment, and there's so many great fighters coming through and getting the good opportunities, getting the exposure that they deserve.
100%, man. I totally agree, and it's nice to hear you say that. But yeah, obviously Pierce. I think Pierce, a few very young guys coming up like yourself, 24, Pierce 20, Paddy, what, 20, 23? Is he really?
I think he's not even. I think he's only. I think he's 21. 21, yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. Like, the lads coming up and we're talking.
Sorry, there's one fighter that I forgot to mention, and I shouldn't have forgot, because he used to be one of my best mates and sparring partners back in the day. Lewis Crocker. What a fight! Last fight.
Brilliant
Won an
fight,
absolute scrap. And ticked a lot of boxes for himself as a fighter. Showed heart, showed grit. Everyone knows he can punch. Showed a bit of boxing skills. Being able to box in the back foot. That guy was a tough nut. Yeah. So he ticked a lot of boxes that you need to be ticking and then step up fights.
Definitely.
And he's a serious talent who can seriously whack. So, like I say, Irish boxing's absolutely booming at the moment.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? And I have to give a big shout out to kind of the Belfast scene as well, like kind of Northern Ireland, but specifically Belfast. It's, Jesus, there's some Mountie is being churned out over the last few years. It's ridiculous.
I know.
We're down here in Dublin going, come on, lads.
Just something about Belfast fighters. There's something in us. We just love to fight, and thankfully we're technically good as well. So
very technically,
we're not doing too bad.
Definitely not me. So very, very last thing, which I almost forgot, which is blasphemy. Fucking Carl Frampton is fighting for the WBO Super Featherweight title this weekend. Obviously, Tyrone McKenna on the undercard as well. Talk to me just very briefly about Frampton's fight against Herring. How do you see it going? And obviously, Frampton probably would have been someone who was a big influence to you in your amateur career, and I suppose your whole career coming up. You know, tell me about the significance of that fight and how you see it going.
I see Frampton winning on points, unanimous decision or something like that. I feel like, yes, he's. I don't think he's fought at Super Feather, is it, or Feather, whatever weight it is.
Super Feather. He hasn't actually boxed there yet, I don't think. No,
he hasn't boxed at it, but I think Hearn looks dead at the weight, which could play in the Frampton's hands. Frampton is, and I've rated him very, very highly. Technically, very good. Yeah. Can punch in both hands. Great body puncher. Very smart. A very smart fighter, and he's been at the top level for a very long time, and he knows what it takes to win a world title. So there's a lot of history on the line there for him to create, and I feel like he will do it. I think that will just prevail in the fight. That will show that he'll want it more than Hearn will, and obviously I'll be rooting for him. And like you said, it's someone that I looked up to growing up, and I'm seeing him put Belfast on the map and Irish boxing on the map. He's someone that I want to fill his boots. You know what I mean? He's got. I want him to become a freeweight world champion, and there's no doubt he will. But it's going to be big boots to fill. Do you know what I mean? But I'll try my best anyway. But that's my goal. Do you know what I mean? I look at someone like that and be like, that's where I want to be, or I want to be better than that. Do you know what I mean? And if not, then what are you in the sport for? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I want to be the first Black Irish world champion, and he's creating his history. Hopefully this weekend, and hopefully in a couple of years I'll create my own. But Franklin's an unbelievable fighter. He's an unbelievable ambassador for Irish boxing. Just as a person, he's such a nice person and a down to earth guy, and he deserves nothing less than to become a freeweight world champion.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's really poignant what you said there. Like, he's such a great ambassador for Irish boxing as a whole. You know what I mean? I mean, he really does represent, you know, everyone, because there are still tensions, you know, especially up north. There are still some underlying tensions and stuff between communities, but Carl really does bridge that the gap between those communities so well. And he makes I think he makes a conscious effort to be inclusive and to make it known that he represents everyone on the island of Ireland, you know, which is something that he likes to say a lot, which I think is amazing, you know, for the relations between communities and for just to try and influence an attitudinal shift, especially up the north, where these kind of tensions still exist to some degree, you know what I mean? Obviously, some people will exaggerate those tensions and some people will not realize that they actually do still exist to some degree. So, you know, 100%, I think it's really important to kind of big Carl Frampton up, because I think, you know, himself and maybe Katie Taylor are probably the two who've done the most for Irish boxing over the last few years.
Without doubt.
You know, very quickly, McKenna Turov. Not an easy fight for McKenna. How do you see this one going? He's a bleeding mental case. I love Turov McKenna. But how do you see this one going?
McKenna doesn't like easy fights.
No.
I haven't seen a lot of your guy, but I know I've heard he's a very good fighter.
Yeah.
Hopefully McKenna can pull it off. Do you know what I mean? With one thing that's guaranteed with him is he'll give it his all, and he'll fight like a true Irishman. Do you know what I mean? And every time he fights, you see the fighting Irish in him. So, and he's a technically a good fighter as well. He had a good amateur background. Do you know what I mean? So I really hope he can pull it off, and I'm sure it'll be a great fight.
100%, man. I think I've taken enough of your time now, Caoimhin. So thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate it. I hope to catch you again as well. I'd love to do another one with you, because I think there's so much stuff I didn't touch on there. I tried to keep it a little bit more current, a little bit more topical, but there's so much stuff there. I mean, that I would love to talk to you about, you know, just about growing up north, and obviously being kind of a mixed race man, you know, Ghanaian, Irish man. It would be really interesting to kind of speak to you about some different things. Obviously, we know what happened to you a few years ago. I didn't want to go too much into it today, but I would really love to sit down to you. Maybe we can do it in person someday and have a really good chat about kind of life and how your life has been so far.
Definitely, mate. Listen, I'm always free. I've got a lot of time in camp between training sessions, so you give me a shout and we'll get another one done whenever you want, mate.
100%, man. I really do appreciate that as well. And no, actually, one thing I didn't do, which is what I wanted to do, was big up the merch.
Legend.
Giddy up, lads.
Thank you very much for the support. I appreciate that.
People need to get on this shit, man. Yeah, this is like the best jacket I've ever had.
Serious.
Have a chat. Caoimhin Agyarko, Black Thunder. People need to buy this gear.
Unbelievable, man. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
No worries, mate. It's it's nice gear. Again, something I'll probably get into with you in the future, like the deal with SB Sports and all that kind of stuff. It's interesting stuff. But look, for today, I will leave it at that, and I'll probably be in touch with you very soon for another chat, Caoimhin. I really appreciate your time, man.
Perfect. And, thank you very much.
No worries at all, and I'm looking forward to an announcement for your fight, which is obviously pending, coming up soon enough.
Yes, thank you, mate.
No worries. Sam Locke for Green Blood Boxing with Caoimhin Agyarko. Caoimhin, thanks very much, mate. Talk to you soon.
See you later, mate.